What's your name, Sarah? Kate.
Kate and Anna.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live on the blog site.
That's awesome. She's running up there. And she handed me this instead of speaking to that. And then I went, oh.
Hey, the Surf Sisters Club seems to be going really well this year. It's really good. What's changed? Like, just it's just such a weird, like, you can't pick it, can you? People are gonna, it's so seasonal. You can't help Mother Nature, and it's like, yeah. That's really good. Yeah, what's that? That's good. That's what you want. That's what you need. Yeah. I gave up on the membership this year because I've been too broken. But again, next year maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Pardon? I have barely been home. I've been away a lot. Yeah, do some offshore on the weekends. I'm off to Cairns next week. So I know I'm doing lots of like exploring, which is nice. I'm just working full time now, so I don't have as much time as before. So I haven't really been out on the surf much because the weather's been a bit hectic. And I don't want to injure myself again. But I've done a few surfs up at Noosa, like at the moment I'm comfortable up there. Yeah. Yeah, it's just calm and it's safe. I'm like, gosh, yeah. Yeah. Have you? Yeah. Those nice rolling breeze. Have you guys been getting out a lot? Like, you always do. Yeah. Yeah. How's the little one? Yeah.
Hello everyone. I'm Sez. Thanks for coming. Yeah, literally thanks for coming. I didn't realise it was so a few housekeeping things. Pick up your rubbish. No. But they just want to, if you haven't seen the there's two on the table over here. So we also have a change robe coming into winter. Who wants that? I've got one. It's the best thing ever. Yes. Now this jacket is one of a kind. It's actually quite quiet. It's only one of a kind. It's hey, buy one. No, it's not too late. If you want to buy more tickets for your checks, you'll come up to the local town. It's 1 for 6, 2 for 10, 3 for 15. All as close. Save my life. We won't put it in the water. You'll be very happy once you get out of the water. So we also have, so this is from Red Paddle. They sponsor us, Surfboard Legend. We also have a $100 voucher from Salt Gypsy. Very good. We also have a 10 pass from Inflow Flies. Anyone know Inflow? They're like a local brand that has quite expanded a little bit. Good. Glow by Sarah. Does anyone know Sarah? Yeah, so her facials. Hello, come in. Come in, don't be shy. There's chairs. We just started anyway. Yeah, so that's a mini facial. Who doesn't love a facial? Even you guys. So that's mini facial. So good. She's in Ritual. Then we have Elation Label. Anyone have that? Yeah. Yeah. They're beautiful swimwear brand as well. So that's a $50 voucher. $50 voucher at Orenda Cafe. Anyone know Orenda? Lounge will. It's so good. Also a private surf lesson with yours truly. That's priceless, obviously. And I think that's what ended the traffic. So we've got a few things on tonight. We've got the wonderful Hayden, who is a surf nerd. Okay, she knows a lot. Has anyone checked out her YouTube channel? You probably have it. This is all her here, really. Apart from one. But that's all cool. So she's got a few things printed out for you. Local, grew up on the coast. Pretty much surfing her whole life. Similar to me, yeah, surfed my whole life as well. And we got given the shit boards, you know, hand down. They probably have holes in them, they probably sunk. That's sort of shit, right? Where now you can have any board you want, especially when you're learning. And we never had surf coaches, so it was just sink or swim. So you're really, how long has it been? The last few years you've got into
Like maybe the last 10 years solid, like really surfing every day, and last maybe 6 or 7 years really researching the gear.
perfect. So it doesn't surf nerd. She knows more than me. So I'm gonna learn a lot too. So she's gonna share her knowledge with us. We've also got Anna Constable here from She Creative Art. She's got some boards at the back, which we're all gonna want to steal. Board shaper from Noosa, originally from California. Pro longboarder. Done incredible things, which I'm going to share later. And then we also have my new mate, Jo, at the back. She has created these. She's going to touch on them more than things. I don't know a lot. She's made these amazing things. And she's going to tell you what they do and why. A lot of fun. And then, yeah, if you have any surf questions, want to get better, or any questions, I'm here. I don't know. Some people know me, some people don't. But grew up here, coached since I was 15, on and off. But my main kind of focus is women's surfing and helping women feel empowered. in the water, not just learn to surf, but actually be an ocean badass. So, without further ado, Kate, when you're up.
We're all over the internet right now. So thank you for coming. This is like crazy. I can't believe how many people are here. I feel like this is a natural thing for me, especially for women. And I started this because of my journey. I feel like a lot of you probably will be able to relate. So yeah, do you want to start with
Yes,
surprise?
selfie.
A selfie?
My arm is really long, obviously. I have long limbs. Yeah, this is Ellen. Anyone know Ellen? Because this is Ellen right now. If you can't get in, you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to do. Scan in. Are you ready? Right, we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Return to my notes, as you guys will not be surprised. Alright, so I grew up in Redcliffe actually. I was a soccer player for 19 years. But I did do surfing on the weekends and holidays, so it was always a love of mine. And then when I graduated from my soccer career, I moved to the coast because I just wanted to surf the whole time during my soccer. And yeah, as Sez was saying, I grew up on boards that were just dusting away in my dad's shed. And it was just like, well, what can I buy today? Whatever's in there, that's what I can grab. And this is kind of the whole, but going along the nerd thing too, it's like my story as a female surfer that just got what was available. I'd ride that, and it was just not ideal. They were crappy boards. So my hope is that I can empower women to realise what boards are going to suit them best, and where they're at the surfing journey. As the saying, the opportunities available now is like, you know, you've got foam boards, you've got fat boards, you've got all these shapes that weren't really a thing, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. So, and there's no right or wrong way to start, but if you've got the right tools, you can progress a lot quicker. And as you'll know, surfing takes a long time to progress. You could learn one thing, but it would take you 6 months to learn that one thing, or 6 months to break a habit. And then how it became a nerd thing was that I got my first ever custom. So that's this board here. I was literally riding really high performance boards, as a lot of you guys probably have grown up on as well. So I was really, really skinny boards, super narrow, super thin. I literally have a photo of me posing for a photographer with a fin missing out of one of my boards back in the day, and that's literally how I rode it. I didn't care, because it's just, I got a board, I can ride it. So I hung out in the surf shop a lot, annoyed the shaper, Mike Pridmore. I was in there all the time, he probably, yeah, you know, just girls back again. And we were chatting, and he worked with me to get my first shape, first custom, only custom I've ever had actually. I don't know how he knew the dimensions, it was just through conversation. We talked about where I'm at with my surfing, what I was doing, what I wasn't doing. And he came up with this board, and this is the beginning of my surf nerd journey, because when I got on this board, I did my first ever turn. And that's what I want for you guys to realise, get on the right shape, and that's what he knew for me, because that's his job. So later when Anna talks, you can have questions to her. She's a shaper, she's going to have more in-depth knowledge about that stuff. So as you can see, it's quite a fat board. Not too chunky, but it's definitely a big difference to a long, skinny, high performance board with fins missing. So It's now become a sentimental thing, so it's now my kids' height
Oh, that's awesome.
because I can't get rid of it. Because it's it was definitely a blessing. So that is the beginning of the journey. That's where it all started, being on the right gear. And I'll never forget that turn. I went back to him and I was like, oh my gosh, I just did a backhand turn. Okay, so that's a bit about me, and the goal for tonight is to empower you guys to feel brave and confident that when you're ready to walk into a surf shop, you know what to get. You don't have to rely on typically guys that are in there that might want to upsell you, get you on the wrong shape. I want you guys to know, you know, you could even, I want you to get to go in there and like, you know, with him about what you need. That's how it should be, you know. So, before we start, have a look under your chairs. See if you have a lucky ticket.
Shall I go on that?
So, I know that a lot of you are sitting next to someone you do know. It'd be awesome to do it with someone you don't know. So what we're going to do is, if you can, find someone. You're going to tell each other your name, how long you've been surfing, and your favourite type of wave. And then you're going to guess, once you've exchanged information, you're going to guess if that person's a shortboarder or a longboard. Well, there could be a bit later. So, just do it with someone that you don't know. So, say name.
G'day. Yeah, I like slow rolling greens. Yeah, feel slow. Okay. No. Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so you just want to, but you're getting a short. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I still went the other way. I was longboard, and now I'm here. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah. A couple of years, but I've injured myself a few times, so it takes a while to heal. Yeah. So, like I dislocated my shoulder and collarbone snaps. And, but yeah, so you go. Yeah. Oh, well, we didn't talk about it. Yeah. Are you local? Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, I've been trying to get up to Noosa. I just live around here, but I've been trying to get up there because I prefer it. Like, it's just chill. Yeah. Moffat. Yeah, go to Moffat. Yeah, it's not bad. It's still kind of sheltered. Otherwise, you've got your Neil Street. Yeah. I can tell you. Yeah. Otherwise, Arena, but it's a real open beach. It's fast, and sometimes there's a gutter. there's lots of spots. Yeah. 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 Whoa. Yeah. Just gotta be careful. Yeah. But I didn't even do surfing. I did it doing surf photography. And like this, I know, like a shark egg. The wave just crashed on it and like just totally. Yeah, I was holding a camera and it just chopped it.
And you didn't know her?
No, but it's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyone? No, yes, right. You guessed right. Yeah. And she liked the beachy because it's colour. She liked
Good.
it.
Did anyone else struggle? Was it hard to guess? How to bring me the questions? We're like,
Not to label anyone's shortboard or longboard, but I think it's interesting, right? And then you might not be any, you might be all of them. All right. So the time begins. So a lot of my learning comes down to pencil and pen. I don't know how it came about. It just naturally occurred that way, and I continue to use it daily. So I'll show you actually one of my original quiver charts. So too deep. I'm just teaching the basics today. But for me, it shows me what I've got, what that board does in my quiver. So, for example, this board was bought after having my second child. It's a short board filled with volume. So typically I'll ride a board around that length, but a lot less volume. So now I'm changing my quiver according to my weight, my journey, where I'm at, all that jazz. And then it also helps me realise, well, the next board, like at the moment I'm looking at a different board to replace that one, but I don't want to get something that's exactly the same. So when I draw them out, I'll realise, okay, I've already got that, I need something else. So what I want you guys to do with your pencils is, I want you to draw your current favourite board in the first box. And if you can fill it all out, you get brownie points. Be very impressed.
This is lovely. This is what I would call. I would call this a 200. Do you want it? Oh, I don't. What is that for? What's a din? Oh. What a dimwit.
It's hard to draw a board. It's very hard. It's so hard. Your favourite everyday board. In the section, you can write. Yes, the main thing is not really the brand, it's counting. It's hard to draw, so you just kind of do it. Once you've done it,
The toxic din.
You don't want too much on you. You want less force so you can whip around and do radical turns and airs. So understanding your sweet spot for that is a good guide then also to find the board, because a lot of these, just as an example, you might have two boards exact same length, but totally different outline, totally different volume. So one's going to suit one. So if you look on the back and you do the calculations, so we're all in kilos here, so you've got to convert on Google. If you guys want to do this now, get your calculator, go to Google, type in your kilos and convert it to pounds. Once it's in pounds, you can do the calculation. So if you want to do that on Google, just convert it. So for example, 138.8 pounds. And according to my I just did a rough thing. So like the pros, you divide by about 6, and they get this tiny little volume. I put like people that are doing pretty good turns, that's advanced. Then if you're starting to turn, make it intermediate, and then not yet turning, intermediate, beginner, and then beginner at the bottom. This is a rough guide. So this guide will help you determine what board may or may not suit you. So I know that, and gaining a bit of weight, my typical volume was 26. Now I've gone up in weight, now I'm going to go up in volume. And you've got to make sure your board matches your journey of surfing, especially as women. If you have kids, our bodies change. You might have an injury, your body's not working out, you adjust that volume accordingly. Is the calculation working? And does anyone need help figuring out which ones to divide by? The table next to it, I stole a list of the net as far as my cheat sheet. That's also a rough guide. So if you don't want to do that, you can look at your weight and go across. Now the thing with volume, is you've got your everyday levers, and then we'll just use me as an example. My everyday lever was 26. I'm going to change that to about 20. When you go for good waves, you don't need as much float because the waves are bigger, they're going to take you, right? So you can drop down every day. So let's say I'm 26, maybe I could drop to 25 for good waves, and then for small waves, what am I going to do? Go up, right? So my higher end leader is that board that I showed you was 30. That's on 4 litres above. So you want to use the guide as your everyday board, small wave boards, and wave boards. That's kind of where your volume goes. But figuring out your everyday volume, that's a good way to do it. So little cheat sheet for that. Anyway, yeah, question actually.
With your boards in your quiver, do you want all of them to be the same volume? So like you put your board, but that will be the same as your everyday board, and you want all of them to be the same volume.
Do you think that would work on a small wave? If I had the same volume? It'd be pretty hard, eh? I need the extra float because the waves are weak and they're small. So you've got to go. Yeah. Still, you still need more flow because you're going to be working so hard, you're not going to be having fun.
Yeah.
So you can adjust that.
That automatically adds more volume. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you have to go in there, and then if you like a toothpick that's on the yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to go. You instead of adjusting the volume, you could just adjust the length. And that's going to naturally bring in more volume because it's longer. Or you can go shorter and fatter. There's a few ways you can do it. It's just a guide. By the way, if you have any questions just throughout the night, just throw your hands up because that's what I want to speak to you guys. Does anyone here not surf? Awesome. Yeah?
Just starting.
Okay, awesome. When did you start? Cool. Welcome to the surfing guys. So this is kind of what we were talking about before, what's available for learning. So nowadays you've got foamies. Does anyone know why foamy is good for learning? Extra flow, yeah. So don't get worried, yeah.
Don't hurt others.
Don't hurt others, yeah. Stable, why is it stable? And it's flat and
Like, boy.
yes, what does the thickness do? Yep. Yes, balancing, yeah. So because it's so thick, you can kind of relate this in terms of boats. It's so thick, can't really wobble. It's got stable. But if you get some really narrow and you've got a glass board, then you can wobble. That's going to be higher if you progress. A lot of us probably didn't have access to foamies back in the day. So you're kind of forced to get better on not the right equipment. But I think what we've got now is, yeah, there's so much.
Yeah, that is, and also with foamies now, it's such a huge industry that there's like the old school foamies, which are just like a big oversized, like soft, like foamy, like a board, and it just like it gets really wet. And but now there's like ones that actually have an epoxy center where it's actually shaped of lake, and then it's like soft on the like around it and a slick bottom, which I actually did.
Yeah.
And they're not super thick, they're actually performance, like you can learn on them, but they have like that feeling of like a lot more buoyancy, but at the same time, there is performance still, and that's like where they're trying to go with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you are going on a trip, I know that when I go to Hawaii, I don't want to bring like so many boards, and sometimes you know you're just going to be surfing some really crowded places, so I always throw one in there, and like you can sit out, it still performs like pretty decent, that has edge and rail, and yeah, they're a good alternative now.
Yeah.
So don't poo-poo, but it's all good, you know, too good for us.
Oh, yeah. I always say to people, you can always have a foamy in your box because it's perfect for those small days. And anyone in the family can ride them, right? So what Anna was saying is that the board it's a glass board, proper surfboard with foam around it. That's what some of the boards made, not all of them. So yeah, and then churning and stuff, that's got a lot to do with how that rail is. So some old school ones, yeah, very chunky. Some of them now are still really chunky. They're not for turning. They're just purely for learning to stand up balance. So that is why foam is a good option. Soft fins. We'll get into that. This was kind of just like a random little like progression of what boards you might get next. So I think there's no right or wrong way, but I say to people when they go into this job, try and stick with what you know, but don't change too many things at a time. And I think this you need to carry on through your surfing. When you change something, don't change too many things. Like you get a new board, try and stick with the things you've already got. Because you don't want too many variables to change, because how do you notice the things on the board? So let's say we go from foamy, maybe go to maybe like it's a 9-foot foamy, maybe you go to an 8-foot mini nail, and then you jump into glass. So it's going to be a lot of differences. You're going down, and then you've got thin up. It's going to be a little bit more wobbly. Then when you start to learn to turn, that's going to give you flexibility to do that. It's going to be harder to paddle because now you've got less float under you. So the difference between volume in foamies and glass is going to be a huge difference. When you progress, when you're catching heaps of, in all of this, when you progress, when you're catching heaps of waves, it's easy and you're just not having any issues. You're ready to progress. Or if you feel like you're wanting to turn, but you just can't, it won't let you ready to progress. Then maybe you graduated the 8-foot mini nail and you want to go to like a mid lane. I just put single fin in there. The reason I did this called this tail is because what's this tail going to do versus this tail? Anyway, this is like turn. Yep, which one's easier? Yeah. So less surface area, easier to pivot in the water. And that's going to have a lot to do with where your feet are. If your feet are up here, it's not going to be a turn. You need to be over the top of the fin. That's your pivot point in any of your boards. Shortboarding, same thing. From that fat tail pad, that's where the magic happens. So you know you're going to have a really sick turn. The reason why on shortboards you got this big high kick is so that you can put your foot all the way up against it and push as hard as you want without slipping off the back. So if your foot's here, you're in the right spot. If your foot's up, let's say your foot's here, that's okay. But you want to be over the top of this fin, or it's right in between, because that's your pivot points. If you're up here, you're not going to be able to turn it. Really sick fins, by the way. Sickest fins ever. Sally Fitzgibbons, which a lot of people say I look like her. I was trying to imitate her at an interview the other day, but oh yeah. But like you look like her, but you don't speak like her. She's like, I don't know. You're the scout coach. Yeah. Cool. And then I think from this point you've got to decide where you're going to take your surfing. Do you want to be a shortboarder, longboarder, mid-lengther, or do you want to be an all-rounder? Because if you want to be a shortboarder, then you've got to start progressing down. You want to go, like I said before, you want to go as short as possible so you can start turning that board around. If you want to be a shortboarder and you want to start turning and your board's long, it's going to be hard to turn. Right? In saying that, if you can get on a mal, let's say this is a 9-foot glass board, and let's say we change that tail to a more pulled-in tail, if you can turn that, you'll be able to turn anything. It's all about foot placement. Yeah. And yeah, you want it to be a glass board. Oh, not confident. So then you've got to decide. Do you want to be a shortboarder, do you want to be a longboarder? Do you want to be both? Do you want to have a longboard for small days, shortboard for other days? And like we were saying before, like, you know, you can go short and fat, or you can go long. The benefit of long is you've got inches in front of you, paddle, it's already in the wave. You go short and fat with the same volume as a longer board, it's going to still be hard to paddle because you've got less in front of you. So, when to buy a board? Do you guys intimidate when you go to the surf shop? Yeah. Have you ever had a female help you in the surf shop? Me? Yes. I feel like that's a lot of where my story comes from. Okay, so that was my custom board after growing up on skinny boards. Then I met my current fiance, who was my boyfriend at the time. He took me to beach feet, good old beach feet. And he got me this board, and I don't know why. At the time, I didn't know, right? He's like, hey, man, yeah, let's get a JS. That's what he rides, that's what he knows. Let's get this board. I love it, it's amazing. The progression, now that I look back, actually went pretty well. So we got a 5'8", it's 30 litres. Then we went to a 5'10", but it's 25 litres. So we're pulling the board out and we're dropping all that foam. Can anyone tell me what the difference would be between the fat blue board and this narrow pulled-in shape? Skinnier, yeah, what's it going to help with? Turns, yeah. Buoyancy?
On that, when you're easier to be above the water.
Yes, that's going to be easier, yes. And I will mention same construction, they're both EU too. So, like I said, I did my first turn on that board. Then when I went to this board, it was like the whole universe opened up. Everything was just flowing, and it matched me at the time. So I got more length in front of me, but dropped down. Nice pulled-in tail. We're going to learn about tails, and 5 fin setup just gives you lots of options. Quite a performance board, and it went really well for me. And then my next shape after this one, I went back down in size. And this is now going back to 5'7", but less volume. So I'm going up in length, narrow, and then I'm down to this shape. So start there, go, progress, and then go back. And this board is, it looks crazy, but can anyone guess what this tail is going to do? It's called a double batwing. And you can't answer. But you can help everyone knows. Anyone take a guess? Speed. Pardon? Speed from where? Channels? Yes, those channels. So, yes, lots of speed. So, this is my favourite board on the planet, and it's because of the tail. So, you've got a mixture of the double batwing, and we're going to get into all that, but essentially, this was just like the most magic board because it lets you release the tail and perform however you want. And it's a little bit more user-friendly than that board. That's more performance board. So now this is like everyday board, but you need that one to replace. Longer and narrower and all that jazz. Whereas this one's a bit wider and a bit shorter. That kind of makes sense. Yeah? Any questions? I love questions. I know I'm helping you if you ask questions. A tail?
Yeah.
It would if it was filled up. So if the whole tail was just filled up and no cuts, yes.
All those little chimes, they actually release the water so when you turn you have more spots where you can break the water. Yeah, that's like right. Even around its spring. That would be the
Your third board, did you choose that yourself? Did you know why you were
Yes,
choosing
and
that?
I'm trying to think back, like when I got it, it was on sale. That was my first, like, yeah. I really wanted to ride slider boards because I thought he's the king. He knows what he's talking about. If I can get on a slider board, I might surf like him, but he's one of the best in the world. Why not ride his boards? You know, it's not going to suit everyone, but it just worked out that it was the magic. So that's the board I would love to replace. That's an old model. They've got a newer version of that. But yeah, so when you want to buy a board, this is kind of my breakdown when I help customers. So what is the goal of the board you're going to buy in your quiver? And this is probably questions you asked your yes,
exactly.
pretty much that, yeah. So when you come to Anna and you want a board, she needs to find out all about you. You're going to bring your quiver chart and you're going to show what you're on, all the boards, what you like about a board. And this is the other thing I say, you know, let's say you jump on a friend's board, make some notes after it, say what you didn't like about it. And if you don't understand what it was it the tail, was it the rail, was it the volume, that's where we can have more shape. So goal of the board, you've got to decide that first. You've got to ask yourself what type of wave, so beaches, 2 to 4 foot. Because that's going to determine, okay, well, do we need a fat short board or do we need a pulled out long board? That's performance control. Then you need to know your volume. You don't need to know it, I just said like it's a guide. So your volume range. And then, does anyone know what this means? Putting the board under your arm.
Never fits.
Never fits. So, yes, it does. So, does anyone want to demonstrate for me? Pretend you're a customer in my shop.
Yeah.
Okay. Pick a board. Okay, pick a break. Take your jacket so I can show you. We've got to do this right. Now, this concept, I believe, works for shortboards. It may be mid-length, but maybe not. Alright, so face everyone, put it on your arm. So see how it's kind of snug right here? Do you know what that's going to tell you? Why? And for her, that's going to be quite a high volume board, right? Okay, now let's pick up my JS board. This is, pick up that one. This is the magic. Next time you go to surf shop, you can do it tonight if not. Next time you go to surf shop, go in there and do this. So like 5 different boards.
But there's only words if you're below.
Yes, I don't think it would apply so much to long boards. Mid-length, maybe, depending on the board. But it's mostly short boards. small wakeboard. Then this might be like everyday wakeboard. And then pick up the monster tin. Or actually, go to the a little bit of a gap. So essentially, like if you get in the shop and I helped you and you put it under your arm, if you've got a gap there, it's going to be quite a narrow board. What's the narrow board for? PG. Good way. So it's literally, this is the magic. When you guys go shopping for boards, try that. Put them under your arm. If it feels fat, you know it's going to be for smaller waves, more of a like fun board. If it's got a really big gap, it's like you could be a pro. You know, like I saw a guy on that hill yesterday or today, and there was this huge gap under his arm. And I thought to myself, he's either really good or he's on the wrong board. It's the little thing, yeah.
I want to ask, I messaged on Instagram in the middle of like stepping down.
Yep.
This was the one that you gave me. Like, feel it under your arm.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm going from like a mid-length board to a shorter board, but I don't change much, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
Am I trying to aim for something that's just as wide as my midi?
I'd go a little bit less wide.
A little less.
Yeah, so you're mid-length
Yeah.
and you want to go to a short board
Shorter, yeah.
or like a fun board,
Like a
fat-
6'6",
like a fishy outline or performance.
more like a thruster, I think.
Yeah.
Too much, but
What they can do.
Well, just like what you said, you don't want to change, like, people go, oh, I'm on a, what do you say, 6'6".
I want to say
Yeah, you're on a 7'6", like, when we're talking about surfboards, we're talking about 16 inch. So imagine taking like the off your board. Yeah, and you want to like be progressive and having fun, so you have to not think with ego, but think of like, I still want to catch waves, I still want to be part of the group. Like, you don't need to go down, it's better to go down like an inch or two, and just go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then all of a sudden you stop, like 6 inches off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do the chop, if you do let's say going from 7'6" to 6'6",
Yeah.
you have to then tell yourself it's going to be a massive challenge.
Yeah, that's what I said to you. I was like, so it's possible and start eating shit now to get used to it.
I always say to people, trust your gut and your own confidence level. Because you're the one that's going to have to work harder. So if you find that 7'6" super easy, walk positions, yeah. And this is the thing with surfing, you've got to fork out all this money for the next board.
Yeah.
Second hand's ideal, and if you can hire boards, like hire boards just to get an idea of the length even.
I was thinking for me, because I have like short injuries, I still kind of want the volume to help me get on the waves, but I do want to start getting down to
Yeah.
Then I would use that volume as a guide. You may even go, let's say you're on 7'6", maybe go to a 6'6" with similar volume. So it might even go wider. Yeah. Because now you're going shorter. Yeah. And then what's your goal with the short board? You want to kind of get that feeling.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
What about that one?
Duck diving. Turtles.
It's just
More of that.
Your body weight, cheerleader, how much leader is your board has to your weight as to how much you can.
But there is different like ways of duck diving. It's so crazy. Like I can duck dive like the night before. When I see it coming, I literally pull my body off to the side and I slip it. Yeah, and I let the leg push me under. I want to legs. So it's more like it's a technique, and it's more like constantly pushing yourself not to let go of your board. Yeah. I also like helping partners, so it's always like best to like yourself. I feel like it's technique. Yeah. Yeah. And also you use the way.
weight.
And it's also
A lot of short orders.
Okay, next part is constructions. Any questions? Constructions. The basic constructions is, so traditionally is PU, which stands for polyurethane and polystyrene. Correct me if I'm wrong. So foam, that's the foam. This is the resin on top. So you've got two different combos. Traditionally, that is what was, back in the day. How to tell the difference? So typically, not always, but typically, a PU board will be lead by looking at it, will have a wool stringer. Top of that, usually. Then you've got the main features of. Does everyone know what construction their board is? Anyone not know? Yeah? Alright, so the main thing when you pick up a board, PU is going to be a bit heavier. It sits deeper in the water. So when you're paddling and then you stop, it has a longer glide. This is really technical stuff that may or may not be helpful to you. When you're paddling, it has a long glide. When you jump to EPS and epoxy, it's easy glide paddling, but it will stop. Does that make sense? Like this is heavier. It sits deeper in the water. You give it some power, it will keep gliding once you stop. EPS sits on top of the water, it glides, it's easy. Once you stop paddling, it stops. Why is that? Just the way it's constructed and the weight. So EPS is expanded polystyrene.
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Polyurethane, yeah, expanded polystyrene. So I went to shaping supplies and do stuff.
Oh yeah.
My mind was blown. I'm such a nerd. I was seeing all these blanks I've never seen before. So I knew which blanks were which because I've studied it. So PU is essentially like all different ways, but it's like foam compressed into a mold. Whereas this is like all those tiny little balls compressed into a mold. So you've got all these little air pockets essentially. So this is a lot lighter. So EPS and then epoxy resin. So a lot of people will say it's an epoxy board. That's just a term. Someone on my channel corrected YouTube, I think, and said, no, you're actually wrong. So it's EPS core epoxy resin, but everyone calls it epoxy. So if someone says they've got an epoxy board, they're just saying it's an EPS. It's a super lightweight board. So if you pick it up, it's going to be super light. There is one. No, they've both got their purposes. The main difference is that will sit deeper in the water. Let's say you're a really aggressive, hard surfer and you're doing radical turns, or let's say you're a heavier set person and you derail in the water to do your bottom turn. That's going to sit deeper in. It's going to hold really nicely. This will do that too, but not as much because that's heavier and this is lighter. The other thing is this glides on top of the water. So especially for women, it's going to feel user-friendly. Now going off the volume that we were talking about before, let's say you buy a PU board, 30 litres, and you buy it in EPS 30 litres, it's going to feel like 32. So you're kind of cheating. My first epoxy board was that Sci-Fi, the Slater one. Oh no, actually it was a Gamma. It was before that. The Gamma. And the minute I started paddling, I felt it straight away. It was the best feeling. I like both. A lot of people are either one or the other. But I think if you try both, go for it. And this is going to be better in windy conditions because it's heavier. This I like in all conditions, but it's not ideal. You know, if you've got a solid, heavy, windy day, it's going to be chattering like this on the surface. Yeah.
All generally like all the old boards, like my dad's boards, basically the top one.
Yes, they will be mostly. Yeah. Do you do EPS?
We do, and we're just starting to do some carbon ones too.
Ooh. Yeah. So most very popular on the market now. Typically, so you can actually see these two boards. So these typically yellow, quicker. So to give you an example, this is from, let's say, 2016-17, and this is from 2000. This is only 4 years old. Yellow. And I got a photo when I bought it, pristine white. So they will go yellow, and the only way around it is having a coloured paint job, and this is a new epoxy.
They have to say they're trying to make it so it's like they have like a spot block in it, so it's not supposed to go as yellow, but I think
They're working on it.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the only downfall, but you know, that happens. Then you've got PE. This, you know, like a lot of it can be quite technical, but I think the more you know, why not? PE is a combination, so it's a polyurethane blank with epoxy resin on top. So now you've got best of both worlds. Now the other thing I need to mention is that's super strong. Epoxy is super strong. Super strong and lightweight. So you will get less compression dings. Like my Wi-Fi is almost, the Slater board is almost perfect condition, and I've used it every day almost 5-6 years. And you look at my PU boards and you can see all the little compressions. Like you might have your first surf on a PU board and you'll get a duck dive. Yeah. So super strong, super lightweight. So that's the best of both worlds. A bit heavier foam, lighter, stronger lasting. And I just did carbon because it's kind of coming out now and it's going to start doing it. It's essentially, there's a few ways different brands do it. Channel Islands, only because I talked to the reps, they have a powder form of carbon that they mix in the resin and they layer it. You know that? No, I know. You can teach then JS, for example, they actually have a carbon fibre that they wrap the board in. And then some brands have carbon fibre that they vacuum, suck it on the board. What is carbon going to do? Does anyone know? Strong, very strong.
Very light.
And light. Yeah, so it's meant to be super responsive. That's the other thing that the best I have found. Very responsive. And that's a Firewire board, for example. They've got different makes, like those two boards are different makes. And I definitely noticed the difference. So, center strimmer, but nothing on the rails. This one has, so the grey in the middle and the rails is high density foam. So it's like strengthening the whole board. It's kind of like its way of a strimmer, and there's a little bit of carbon, but that's not very much. But that will affect your responsiveness. Can anyone guess which one's more responsive? This has high density foam wrapped around the rails and the strimmer, and this one just has a regular. It could be high density foam strimmer, but nothing on the rails. Any guesses? Which one? What's that one going to do? So this one is more responsive, especially to me, because now I've got, you know, this one has all this high density foam wrapping the board to make it a bit stiffer. Whereas this one's more lively. You guys get that? Lively, responsive. Like when I do a turn, it kind of does what I want it to do. And it gives me feedback kind of thing, whereas this is going to be a bit stiffer. Carbon is meant to be responsive. I'm yet to try it, and I think that even just going off that example of JS and Channel Islands, the powder carbon versus carbon, you've got all these really strong fibres. I think that would be a bit stiffer than maybe powder. That's getting super technical. So anyway, there's heaps of different types of constructions. So let's get into the board details.
And now it's a really easy thing to, you know how like it says PE in the middle, you know how like everyone gets those solid and you're always scared, like, oh, am I getting the right one? You can always put epoxy on foamy if you're not sure on PU, but you can't put PU on epoxy, so I always grab the epoxy if you're not sure. That will not be your board. Yeah.
So what I was saying is, has anyone needed to do a repair before? themselves. And you go in the shop, there's typically 2 types, or maybe a couple of types. You can only do epoxy on anything. So if you don't know what your board is, go O&E, the packet's yellow, and the PU is red. The red only go on PU. So if you're not sure, you get the epoxy repair kit. Or just take it to professional repair. That's very expensive. So yeah, that's what Anna's saying. I have heard that if you put the PU on an epoxy board, it like melts the foam. Yeah. It will literally eat it. Yeah. So don't do that. Noses. So this is kind of where we go into like, if you can learn all these little bits about the board, which you can jump in on any of this. This will just help you understand what kind of feeling a board might do for you. So nose, essentially, you have to get nose outlines. Anyone have any questions?
Okay, I'm just looking at the yellowing board.
Yep.
What was the reason for it?
I think it's just,
Is it just a sun?
Yeah,
It's mostly just the sun is getting
essentially, yeah.
The only problem is like trying to like not do
Well, there's no-
board, people see yellow and board, and it's also the way you walk into a lot of shops and you're like, yay, look at all these boards that are on sale, and you're like, yeah, they're old boards, like because they're yellow. You see next to them white, this one, really complicated.
Just on the shadow boards.
Yeah.
Five eyes, yeah.
Helium and.
Yep.
Like, what's the actual?
Yep.
When I got the those boards, it's talking about.
Yep. So, firewire boards. So let me explain firewire boards. Firewire is a brand. They collaborate with shapers and surfers. This is the firewire logo. And they are all EPS epoxy. See a firewire board? It's lightweight, it's quite durable. Instructions. So you've got a few instructions. You've got the helium, which that is not helium. Yeah, that's LFT. So you've got old school construction, which is LFT. Helium is now pretty sure it's stringless. Super responsive. What do you have one?
Yeah, I'm gonna mash up.
Helium?
Helium 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So versus volcanic.
Yeah, so I'm gonna volcanic.
Yep.
Paper.
Is it retrieve or color?
Pass that color.
Yeah. So essentially, this is Firewire's version of volcanic rock. This is their version of it.
So what is the volcanic?
This is basalt volcanic rock.
Right.
That's their version of it. And they have like JS.
That's
Right.
all of that brand that I put it in the epoxy.
Yeah, it's kind of like its own. I think they do it before the epoxy layer. Yeah, which will be the same as JS's. So essentially, this is going to be stiffer because it's got that extra layer. Helium is going to be a bit more responsive. I think one of the main reasons they brought this is out to combat the yellowing.
Yeah.
And the strength. That's their version of it. Then the other thing is, so does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So
What
if
was helium? Sorry, how did I do the helium?
Helium is just EPS core. It should be, I'm pretty sure it's stringless.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. And
What can you say? Because I'm here for it. So I like that. It's got helium in it.
yeah.
Nothing left.
And then just epoxy resin.
So they actually inject with helium?
Oh, I think that's just.
No, it's like to say, oh, look, it's a slide.
It's really
like
light, yeah.
a helium light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super light. It's really
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you jump from that to this, I think this will be a little bit stiffer.
Yeah.
But if you're changing totally different board, outline, all that, it's going to be a little bit. So the other thing with Firewire is they collaborate with shapers and servers. So that's why I corrected you when you said Machado. So a lot of people say, oh, Machado boards, because they collaborated them. So this one is a Firewire board collaborating with Machado. So he works with them to create the shape, and then he gets his name on board and kind of like his thing. And then you've also got like my board. It's a firewire board, slated design, this kind of runs under the firewire banner. But that board is in collaboration with a shaper and a surfer. So Rob is a shaper and a surfer himself. Slater collaborated with a guy called Daniel Thompson, and he created that board under the Slater design. So Slater will work with different shapers to create his boards. So yeah, like you can definitely, like if you got a map in volcanics saying everything, then you can test the construction. But if you change too many variables, it's too hard to know. But I've been on that board for 5 solid years, and I jump on the new constructions called Ibolic. So you've got, if you're looking at the bottom of the board, this is the top, this is the bottom. That's where you got the eye from. So parabolic, it was a parabolic setup originally. So you've got high density cone here, and now here. And that was kind of where that term came from. But the helium will have none of that. They'll be super. Let's see.
As well.
Yeah, that's just gonna reinforce that part of the board where it gets steamed. Yeah.
Why do you want a less responsive, more rigid form with the high density foam in the core?
You don't necessarily want it to be like that. It's just their way of creating a really strong board. You don't really want that stiffness, but you've got to create strength somehow. And if you don't have stringers, like some of them, you just got to risk it, essentially. So like a JS board, for example, in EPS epoxy, you'll see that they have a stringer like this, the new ones. They'll go all the way to top to bottom, so still keeping the responsiveness in there. And that is a carbon one, so it's super painful. So yeah. So noses is pretty straightforward. You've got different noses. Essentially, the fuller the nose, you're going to get more volume, help you into waves. The reason shortboard doesn't have a full nose is because when you go to do a turn, you want it to catch. So you see a big rounded nose, and you do a big turn, it can catch when you do the turn. And you're going to bob around. Shortboard, you can whip it around anywhere and somebody catch anywhere. Like if you did a steep drop on a shortboard and had a big nose, it's too much there. Nose is pretty straightforward, I think. Who knows what rocker is? Curve? Yeah. What does rocker do? And it's an yeah. Yeah. So let's look at a board sideways. Eccentrics. Essentially, I got this wrong when I started looking into it. So a lot of rocker for good waves. Less rocker, flatten the board, small waves. You need the board to be touching the water to have surface area so you can get speed. Good waves, you don't need the speed. It's already there. Now you can perform. It's just curvy. This is all gonna, like, all these things are gonna combine and it's just gonna click hopefully. Is it confusing or is it making sense? Yes, cool. So more rocker, good waves, less rocker, small waves. Rails, have a look on the back of your chart. I just gave you guys some little cheat things there. So have a look at the rails. I don't need to draw them. This is, I think, really helpful for when this is important is when you're starting to turn, I think, mostly. Would you agree with that, Anna?
Yeah, and I also find it like really important, like a rounder rail pops out of the wave a little bit easier and like when you first learning,
Yes.
more forgiving than
Yes.
like a pull down rail.
Yeah. Yeah. So like what we're talking about with the foamy is going to have a big full rail like that. super easy to balance. It's going to hold up out of the water. And then when you start going to like that, that's going to be able to turn and dip into the water more easier.
And then like it's like more like you want like if you really want performance, you want a bit of edge, like towards the tail around your, usually about, I don't know, in short boards, but long boards, it's like 6 inches above the fins.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that will actually then hold you in and you can actually drive.
So you're talking about the knife fish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what Anna's saying is that now you may not have noticed on your board, but typically when you get back down to the fins, if you feel the edge of your rail, and I noticed this when I got a new board one day at a turn, and typically at the end of my turn I'll do a tail slide, and this board that I got, it just kept holding and holding and holding, and this is why. It's because of this sharp edge. So at the back of the boards, you'll get, so here it's nice and round and curvy, and here, right where the fins start, or just about here, starts getting really sharp, what we call knifey rails. Rounded rail, probably like a medium size, which you've got your little sharp edge. When you've got this edge, does anyone know what this is going to do, this sharp bit? Huh? Yeah, it's knifey, it slices the water. So you need to slice the water so you can get moving, and then the opposite to that is this round edge. You don't know what that does? Hold, yes. So you want it to hold when you're going on the rail, so it doesn't slide out. But when you're turning, you want to move water, so you need to cut through it. Then you've got, so then we'll go into tails. There's so many things involved, but essentially, there's a really good video on YouTube of water hose, and it literally, if you run water across this, it wraps around it. Yeah. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I love that one. I show it to people all the time.
So to explain it, yeah. So if you pictured a hose, and I just put the water here, it would literally wrap around, and then it would start dripping down. If I did it here on this edge, it would literally go like that. So we're cutting through the water, and here the water is hugging the rail. So I can trust my board. So we can just jump straight into tails then. So when you've got a round, so this is obviously round tail. When you're surfing, the water is going to hug this. So in steep waves, this is ideal because the water is going to hug this edge. You take off on a really steep wave, the water is going to hug it. You're not going to slide out. So you can trust your board. So when you want a good wave board, you want a round tail. And that's going to be the same as a longboard, right? High performance longboard.
Yeah.
You want it to hug. So the water is literally going to grab this. And then when I want to turn, on this one, it's about here, it starts getting really sharp. So it's like a combination of a few things going on. Knifey rail, round tail. So it's going to hug.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
We're lighter than men.
Typically, yeah.
So the thickness of the rail.
Yep.
How do we make sure we don't get too thick or
Well, you'll feel that when you put it under your arm, it's going to feel that magic. If it feels really thick, it's going to be a small wave.
And you, just like you said, like don't be afraid of like feeling your friends' equipment, your surfboards and a surf shop and feel the rails, and so you get familiar with what you like and don't like. Yeah.
And that will come down to what's that board going to do for you. If it's super performance, you don't need much rail.
No.
And the board is shaped accordingly. So all the shapers have made these boards for a purpose. Like the Monster Tent is a good wave board. This is a step. This board, just to give you an idea, so this is a bull flag. JS have a raging bull. The raging bull is a good wave board with a lot of volume, and this is a step down version. So it means it's full of volume in a small wave board. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can have what they call a step down. So step up is a good wave board, good waves go over this. Step down is still a high performance board on smaller waves. So a bit more volume, but still perform. All right, so that's the basics of rails. Then concaves. Does anyone know what concave is? No one knows what concave is. Yes. Yeah, so have a look on your little cheat sheet. There's a few concaves. The most common one you'll find on your board is probably a single, if that's looking under the board. This is left and this is right. Or double. That's your most common. Who can tell me what the double's going to do versus single? Go on, answer. Tell us.
Like, because the water's flowing through it, you're getting speed, and so like when you do, it's a lot. You're like locked into that, so you have to like actually put up. But with the double, it actually has like that extra. Like you're only having to turn half the board instead of having to do. It's a lot easier to turn. So you go a single to double, and a lot of short boards are single to double concave.
Yes, when you look at the board from the fins up, the concave's going to change according to where we need the speed to flow. And essentially, we're not going to be up here going rail to rail. We're going to be turning down here rail to rail. So this could be a double down here, and this could be a single up here. Double concave is a lot faster, right?
Yeah, and it's usually because over your fins, so like you want to be able to get your foot back on that and go either on your heel or your toe, they call it. And
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially you're creating all this flow through there, faster, so double. And that is what we're saying, helping go rail to rail. So let's say you're going to go left, and then you're going to turn right. Double concave, because you've got this kind of V point, which is what we're going to talk about as well, it's a V. You know heard of that? So a V is kind of exactly what it is. Let's exaggerate that. So let's say that's the middle, that's the stringer of your board. We're going left to right again. This is underneath, looking from top to tail. Let's say I have a really, actually I have a board here, I'll see if you guys can see it. Has a really, what we call an aggressive double concave. It's actually called the double concave. I don't know what that's name from. So this is a mid-length, it's a performance mid-length. But it has a very aggressive double barrel concave. And in the middle, a V. So it's a performance board that's going to help you go rail around.
Sometimes if you run like a straight edge over it, you can see it really easily because you'll see the little. So you always see people like, how deep is this one?
Yeah,
oh wow, you must be really good.
It's called straight edge. So one of my heroes on YouTube is Noel Salas. He's a YouTube reviewer. You can do this. Essentially, that's your concept of we're going to go left, then we're going to go right. Whereas if you didn't have that, it's going to be harder to turn because you don't have any help with it. This is going to be yes. You borrow mine.
I feel like good surf shops have this. They want it. It's like such a good way. I worked in a surf shop for 15 years, and I sold all these boards, and to show people to really show them a good salesperson would have that there.
Yeah.
And they would have cutaways to show you the different construction.
Yes, they give you a file really good at a sample, and you can see inside the foam all those stringers I was talking about, and they'll explain that. So yeah, concave. So essentially, these are little things that you may not need to know, but when you do start getting in deeper, like let's say you start competing as a longboarder, you get the right one for yourself. Channels. We spoke about that before. My sci-fi had channels. Essentially, that's something to think as well. That's going to help with speed. So all those channels, those knifey edges, are cutting through the water, and now we're going 10 times as fast. You got all that water flow. And then the tail, you got your round tail, good hold. Squash tail. That's on the back, right? Yeah, look at your tail. So you got just a square tail. That's good for small waves. It's got a little lift. So you look at this, for example. Fishboard's a nice wide tail. So much surface area. The wave can lift it. It's going to give you speed. If that was a little round tail, you're going to get no speed from that. Round tails don't need to generate speed because they're for good waves. Wide tails are usually the small ones.
And so if that was a round tail, that'd get all boggy, like you just wouldn't.
It'd just be harder to, when you're paddling, you're not going to get as much lift
Oh.
because there's nothing to lift it. So you've got all the surface area that's going to lift while you're paddling. Like I was surfing that day, I could tell I was on my round tail. And I knew I needed a big squat tail. It was so hard. But then once you're up and riding, and that's another thing, once you're up and riding, you might still need that square tail because it's slow. Because the round tail's going to hug in the wall. And if it's slow, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then pin setups. Okay, so this is what we were talking about before. Yeah.
People like, okay.
No, I wouldn't worry about that. I would just worry about what it's going to do or not do for you. Technically, yes. Getting very technical.
You know when they talk, sorry to go back to the page, you know the old school single fins? It's often a single concave board because you know when they like trying to turn those
Are big, and it's like called an involvement board. So like more shape off the hull of the boat. So
that's what they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what all the traditional boards are.
Yeah, I mean,
I like it.
yeah. Question, if it's like a really full wave, they're hard to get onto.
Yep.
And if you're having like a fish or something would be better than like a longboard.
If it's a really fat takeoff,
Yeah.
you're going to find a longer board tail because you need the inches in front of you to get onto it.
And glide on and get that
Yeah.
momentum.
Because it's such a, if it was a quick takeoff, like a steeper takeoff but a slow wave, then you can get away with both.
And that's where like those like little like they're called like hybrid boards are really popular for that. Yeah. So
But if you had to choose between, like, say for example these two, this is the baby version of this one, Seaside and Beyond. And it was a fat Alex bluff wave. It was fat and slow. You need the inches in front of you to get onto it.
Does volume help?
It will, but
size of volume fluctuates.
yeah, with a fat wave, the inches is going to help more. It's kind of like everything needs to marry to do the waves. Yeah, but I would choose the inches over the volume. Like even if, like.
Yeah. I'd like to
Yeah. Yeah. Way easier. Fin setups. Does everyone know why we have some boards have a 5-fin setup in the board?
So 5 setup.
Yes. Very rarely will you ever put all 5 fins in. It's typically thruster or quad. Who knows what a twin plus one is? One long? Yeah, there's 2 ways you can do it. So you've got twin set, bigger fins with a little trailer. You were saying it's a single fin with 2 little ones. So just different fin setups. So you probably touched on that longer one, but the difference between a twin plus trailer and a thruster, anyone know? Has anyone got a twin plus trailer? Yeah?
I set them on the shut.
Yep.
Small waves.
Yep.
And it just gives them a bit more pivot and a bit looser because there's only got a trailer, you don't need a large point, but it's still a bit.
It's true. So what he was saying is he's getting a
It's
lot.
not like the twin fin on my back. So it's like the trailer.
So that's your fault.
It's my fault. It's right.
Backhand. Yeah. So twin fins, typically you're going to get a bigger fin than a regular thruster fin because your you're compensating for losing that centre fin. So your side fin will be bigger. So that you can surf just the two. And when a shaper makes a board and it's got two plugs, the plugs are appropriate to where they need to be in that board. So if you put twins into a high performance board, it's probably not going to work. It'll be too slidey and scary out. So twins are made with their fin boxes in the right place and right angle and with bigger fins so that they can do the same job a thruster does, but they just have a different feeling. So essentially, if you went from a thruster to a 20, it's going to be super fast because it's got all that water flow and it turns a lot easier. And then if you want a little bit more stability, that's when you put a little trailer in. So that is what I was saying, twin plus trailer. So it gives you like a looser feeling with a little bit more support. Yeah.
Can you go back to the 5 fins? Why do you have the 5 fins?
5 fins in the board just gives you the option to run it as a thruster or a bowl.
It's more like 5 plugs, yeah.
Yeah, 5 plugs.
Yeah.
I'm good
Keel fins, yes. So I don't have any keels. So the main difference between keels is there's no keels. So a keel fin is essentially not very good. That makes sense. It's got a lot more surface area. So from my knowledge, do you know much about 20 fins?
Isn't it, so you go down the line more and you have more
Cruising,
cushion,
yeah.
Where if you have the traditional like cruising, it's more for releasing and turning,
Yeah, so bigger fin, more surface area, you cut the water, you drive, you go really fast, so typically more cruising.
and you can't really whip it like.
Yeah. So more just cruising down the line, lots of speed, lots of hold.
That's when the guys are really hot. Like a Dave Austin did.
Michael
Forever,
Yeah, so he has a keel fin.
They got style.
And then you've got different types of twins. You've got upright, rates, anyway. So that's fins. Any questions? Sure. Yeah. And then we'll get into longboard.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Right. Does anyone want to buy a raffle ticket for a draw?
Done.
gonna fucking drop it.
I tried
You know when you feel really happy?
Yeah.
You're like, this having so much fun.
You're trying to do the right thing.
You guys should
How beautiful. And you guys look don't want it. Hey guys.
Just so you know a little bit about me, it's like
Hey guys, we're starting.
Josh has been on tour. He's a world champion born and bred on the coast, and so we spent most of our lives, our adult lives, like we're very lucky to be together. Just traveling the world to all the best spots, watching compete. And when you're in that type of scenario, the one thing you talk about always is like the people that are there, what boards they're riding, what boards would work the best for those conditions. So we've spent a lifetime doing this together.
So we are Creative Army Surfboards. I've been shaping for 14 years under our label Creative Army, and it's been such an awesome journey to get this far. We make everything from longboards all the way through to shortboards. So pretty much anything that we ride, we make, and we're passionate about. But the cool thing is, why you guys are here tonight is more about what Anna's done over the last almost year now. Anna's started her division. She created which has been an awesome experience, an awesome journey. So obviously we've been on tour, traveling the world, very in tune because of where I was with my surfing and where I was competing and the different locations. So I was always in the bay with my shapers, trying to figure out what I liked, what I learned. And then I've carried that into my shaping, and that's sort of Anna's journey too. So I've been making boards, and then every time Anna wanted a new board, rather than me having to get all dusty and work hard, I made her jump in the bay, and that's where her passions come from. So she started making boards for herself, and then just over the last couple of years, we've been really fine-tuning her boards. She's wanting to take her surfing to the next level in her 50s, you know, like she's not trying to make boards to go on a tour but just to improve her surfing, understand what's under her feet. And then I guess that's how this journey for her started was.
As me surfing with Jordan, we would surf all the time, and just to make boards that, like, hey, my girlfriends, they have fun on, we're catching waves, we feel like we belong. And I just really feel that, like, a lot of people, they start off on these boards that are usually their husband's boards or their dad's boards. They're way too big. We are usually a lot petiter. Men are a lot broader in the shoulders. Their center of gravity is in their chest, so they use a different technique. They usually can turn, where a lot of women, our center of gravity is in our hips. So you do see a lot of this going on. I try to make a board that suits us, so I put a little bit more, as we were talking about earlier, what V is. So I do need to be back on the board, but I've been making them a little bit more forgiving, so you don't have to go all the way to the back of the board. There is a V in there, so it helps us turn. The board is turned. I definitely glass them. They're still strong because glass is what makes your board strong. As much as people think it's the resin, the resin's brittle. It's the cloth that you put on it that makes it strong. So they're all like double top and single bottom.
What does that mean?
So there's 2 layers of cloth on the top and a single layer on the bottom. And just depending on what your particular goals are with your surfing, I will then say, because like usually you do a double 6 and a 4-ounce bottom, where I will do, like, if you really want to get into your performance, or if you really want it to be lighter, we'll go double 4 with a 4-ounce bottom and then do a 4-ounce tail patch. So.
And the main difference between, like, having more layers is stronger, a bit heavier, but performance competition surfers don't need as much glass. They'll be lighter, right?
The 4 ounces, obviously, 4 ounces is lighter than a 6 ounce, and it's really crazy. A lot of times you see girls, especially when they start on a log, they're on like Volam double 7 ounce and like 7 ounce bottoms, which is just crazy. It's just like so heavy. You're on the freight train, you're on that board. And it's scary. You're on this board and you want to turn and you can't turn it and you think it's you. Well, it's really your freaking board. You're riding it. It's heavy. It's big. It's not made for you.
And that's a nice thing with what we do, both my boards and Anna's boards. We cater, it's more of a custom program. So you come to us, we try and understand what you want, what you're trying to achieve in your surfing, whether it is a little bit more performance surfing. So you might hop on something like this model here called the Sez Pawley, and has sort of pulled the tail in a little bit more curve in the nose and tail, so that helps it turn. And like she was talking about, it's got the V in the tail as well, so that helps it roll, rail, trail. And then if you do want to turn a little bit more, or you surf tea tree or granite, or you've got a bit of a hike to the beach, that's where we might take into consideration weight, and that's when the glass is a little bit lighter. And obviously there's different layers of cloth and different processes on how to glass. That's probably a whole other series. You can get kind of geeking out on all that sort of stuff. But we do, that is a big thing that Anna's been working on, is just trying to work for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's like you can have the most like amazing equipment, but if you're not catching waves and you're not having fun and you're seeing everyone, it's the most disheartening thing, and it drives me insane to see so many women out there, you know, like feeling like they don't know how to surf and they're not enjoying it. So I'm lucky I surfed my whole life, so to me it's second nature. But when I take out my girlfriends and they give up after a week or two, it's really sad. Yeah,
And
so
a lot
I
of the
want
time-
everyone to have fun.
And a lot of the time it is board choice or condition choice.
Yeah.
We do a lot of surf coaching and we find people come like, man, I suck at this, and it's like, not really, your board sucks. And you're using like tough conditions, and it might be one of those days you're out at the mops and it's big and it's wild and it's maybe blowing a bit normally and it's crowded. But if you slip over to the other side and you surf small little happies just while you're learning the journey and you're getting on this small waves, big board, easy into it, progress really fast. The more you're standing up and riding, the faster you're becoming a better surfer. So sometimes a friend and a bigger board is.
Because everyone deserves to be catching waves out there. No one is like, I was lucky I had Relson as my mentor. She was like an amazing water. And her whole thing was like, hey, don't label yourself. You're not a boogie boarder. You're not a short boarder. You're a water person, and you're part of this tribe. And everyone, you're watching out for everyone because everyone's having fun. So the person out there having the most fun, go we're actually the winners. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
And a big part of the surf having fun is all conditions are always 10 out of 10. It is always 10 out of 10. If it's a dumpy short break, maybe on a small short board or a boogie board or something. If it's this big, that's all you need for a longboard for it to be perfect. So you're diverse in your quiver and open-minded to riding everything.
Yeah.
Fish, if it's fat and wiggly, if it's performance, with tough and barreling, maybe you ride a more performance shorter board. Moss, it's fat, it's crowded, maybe you jump the longboard. So
We were really lucky. We went to the Gold Coast last weekend. We surfed with Joel. It was pretty like big and mushy. He grabbed a longboard. He's not.
the job part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short board, but it was grovelly, fat waves at Greenie, and he came on his longboard
Yeah.
and surfed, and he was stoked and had a wonderful ball. So don't pigeon yourself to
Short, like
long,
the
or
people
this.
you see on tour, they're the ones that have to be hard on themselves. They're the ones that have to ride a certain board when the conditions are, because they have to perform. They're trying to make money. We get to do it for fun. So make it as fun as possible. That's all I have to say about that. So stop being so hard on yourselves. Like take ego out. Like let's just have fun with it, okay? And support each other. I brought a couple different boards, but I just want to say with longboarding, there's 3 different types of boards. There's a performance board, which you throw around. It's made for like beach breaks and stuff. You can really get radical with it. Some of the guys, it's crazy. Like it's a really, and you see a lot of even like everyone rides them in Hawaii because the waves are a little bit. There's an all-arounder which sits in the middle, which is an easy, you can nose ride it, you can turn on it. We were talking about tails around it, it's really easy.
So what's this one?
This is the all-arounder.
All-arounder,
Yeah. Short boards, we talk about concaves, double, single. In longboards, we're talking about the V right here, which makes it easy to turn, which we were talking about. From rail to rail. This board does have a little bit of edge on it so that when you are in your wave, you can push and it will like hold on and push. Because we do ride single fins a lot.
Because they look cooler than a 3
And I'm serious. I like to look cool. the nose definitely gives you that lift. So that when you're on the nose, it's going up, it's slowing down, it's getting drawn back into the pocket, and you can have those like crazy long extended nose rides, which we all dream of. So
Are you talking about the circular concave with
yeah,
the
the cert
nose?
on the nose.
It's like a big circle
Yeah,
up front, and the water can drive underneath it and hold you up.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
creates a little bit of a lift here, and the water flows through also onto where the flat panel is. So most of the time we're trimming through the middle, so it's nice and flat and stable, super fast through the water. When we're laying and paddling, all our weight on that flat section. And then when we're coming along the way, we move back to the tail, like a boat. When we're sitting on a boat and it's tipping because it's the hull of the boat is a V, it's the same with the tail of the surfboard. So it tips over, you want to go back, it tips over this side on it. So that's the nice thing with V. You probably spoke about it on the shortboards. Double concave usually has V as well because that's the highest point. We just don't need the concave here. We don't need any more water flowing through. You're going fast. Concave creates speed. With the V, it's also nice to go rail to rail, super easy and simple. Because all we really want to do is step back, use that roll.
Yeah, and you don't have, like longboards, let's not get too ahead of ourselves and make it too complicated. Like you know, your grandmother's cakes always taste better than like the Betty Crocker ones with all the fancy things. It's like simplicity is like pretty much the easy thing. If someone's making it really like, oh, they get in and they're like, oh, this is holding the tail, and they're just trying to baffle you with bullshit. Like it's not really that complicated, okay, guys? So yeah, I feel like after today, everyone should know enough about boards.
So we have a single pin in there,
Yes.
and then we put two plugs on the side. What's the difference?
Well, I do feel like if you have the plugs on the side, it's for someone that has more technique and can turn, because you can push a little bit harder, but you have to use the proper technique. Without the side fins, I feel like you can turn. And one reason I don't put them in mine is a lot of times I'm trimming in the center of the board. I see a section, I step back half step. I can't step back the full two to get over the tail and turn. I put extra V, and it's specifically for us girls. So you half step, you can just slowly turn and like give it a little bit of.
So there is nothing wrong with side bites in the longboard. There's nothing wrong with it. But for most of the people here, you don't need to. You're not going to turn that hard that you need the extra power and drive out of those fins. So extra fins will give you more drive, more power. Bigger waves, bumpier waves, like you've still got to power that. So when you got more fin in the board, you actually have to get right back, like Anna's saying, and you have to have good technique to turn. So it just makes it harder. I'm 85 kilos. Most of you guys are like a lot lighter than that. You don't need to have side fins in it because you're not turning hard enough or powerful enough. And it makes it so much easier just having the sink in, just roll rail to rail. And it's the same in mid-lengths. Single fins are super easy. The more fins you put in there, the more heavy footed you have to be to drive around.
Yeah. And yeah. So
this board, the all-rounders are perfect for like your waves down this area. Like Moss, it's a little bigger, it's a little bumpier, it's not as perfect as Noosa. So that board suits so many different locations, different conditions, and it's our most versatile board in the range.
And it doesn't look like it after seeing all these like shortboards, but this is actually a pulled in nose. There is plenty of space up there to get to the nose, but like you are dropping in on like CGs and office and stuff, it's a lot less to actually like grab and hold, which is like, the worst when you finally get your turn to go in and then you're
and
over
if you like one longboard quiver, this is a really perfect versatile board. Sort of like not super versatile, but something like Boss Up or something that's maybe the Big Baron over there. So the Big Baron, more versatile kind of. It can get good waves and go all right and jumpy waves. Kind of like this. If you can only have one longboard, So I think in that all-round category is really, really good.
And I heard someone say over my shoulder, they're like, oh, it must be nice to make your board so that you can keep getting new boards. I can give you a little trick. If you once you've like ridden your board and you know that you are, like, always take good care of your equipment, it's like your equipment, turn them over and sell them. They will retain their value. Don't like kill your board until it's like absolutely worth nothing and then come in and go, oh, what can I get for this board, or try to sell it. Sell it while it still has a little bit of, value, and then you'll have a good chunk for your next board.
It's a little bit like cars.
Yeah.
Until forever eventually runs
But
out.
so many women are like, oh, I love this board. I learned to turn on this board, or like, this is my first nose rider. I have so many boards like that, I can't really say. But yeah, so that is a trick and then this is on the other end of the scale, this is like a Cadillac. This is my nose rider. It's called a log. Do you guys ever hear the term log? A log is something that's made specifically to nose ride. And what I find that makes mine really special is that I grew up with Sez Pawley and a lot of like California, like grew up on the coastline. So I really done the flip in the tail, which I don't know if you guys understand, but the water, what you want is the water to go onto your board, push your tail down, pull you into the curl so that you have a break, and then you're like walking on it, and then your nose is going up because your tail's getting sucked down into the. So
it's counterbalancing. You'll get it maybe on this end, and you're hoping that you lock the tail in, and the wave's pushing it down to kind of keep the nose up.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of people that it's like, and that's the hardest thing is like, people want to get to the nose, and they're like, you see the section, usually the steep section where you just want to get around it. That's when you have to have belief in yourself and go, hey, if I fall, but every time I fall, I'm learning, I'm getting better. And do that step. Just keep taking the steps, keep learning from each fall. Like, don't, otherwise you will get real stagnant and you will like go, I can't nose ride. I'm like, everyone can nose ride. Just have to move your feet. You're not moving your feet. So yeah, that's one of the things.
So again, this is a similar bottom contours. It's got the V in the tail, which helps it go rail. So it is a bigger board. It is a softer rail in the tail, so they're a little more sluggish. Logs don't turn as well as an all-rounder or the super high performance. Usually these are smaller waves, clean conditions, more trimming, and the turns are more to set it up to then go forward to the nose. This one you don't have to nose ride. It's a longboard, so you can nose ride it, but you'll have a lot of fun on the tail on that board, where this one's more the other way. This is all about the trimming and nose riding, and the turns are more setting it up to be able to go forward.
Yeah, and this is where you have the big wide nose that will catch. And like, I always get the girls coming in like, I love my board. I just want something now. Like, I just want it to nose ride. I want to be able to go on the opens and like get really big waves. I want to be able to turn. I'm like, well, we're going to have to give a little bit, and it's usually the all-arounder that they're looking for. You really have to have that drive to want a nose ride, to get a nose rider, or live somewhere where you're just consistently riding.
So if you took this at Watala for 6 feet, pretty bad choice. You're still going to stand up and catch waves. You're going to get probably by get on the shore. I've been there, I know that. But this is made for Noosa. This is made for inside moss, high tide when it's 1 to 2 feet. Great at happies if it's small and peeling. So there's just picking the right condition for these boards. You'll have the most fun you've ever had when it's 1 foot and offshore in winter on the open beaches.
One of my girlfriends works with Cal.
Yeah.
Yes, and she's been surfing. How long do you think Anna's been surfing?
Oh, we've had it for a year.
Yeah.
I think.
And this is her board. We live in Noosa, so she's always nose riding. She nose rides now. So within a year, she was able to master. Like, she's not, but I'm sure you've seen all the photos. And yeah, it's have the right board for the right conditions, anything is possible. Okay? Yeah. And choose the right conditions. Don't be like, I see a lot of people that look out and they're like out with Tala and people are getting barreled and they grab their board. Like, not the place for us today. Let's let's just go around the corner, Yeah. So I think that's the main thing I want to get across. Everyone should have fun. Everyone needs the right board. And one good thing too is if you work with a shaper. We just had a girl come in. She was so inspirational to me. She's been surfing for, 10 years. She's 60. And just to see Josh shape board, we looked through all the things. We got to see her literage went from 80 liters. She's now just ordered a board, making it for 67 liters. So even at 60, she's getting better. Her weight is getting better.
So
She's pushing
this is
herself.
board 4 over like a 5 or 6 year period, and it was 80 litres, and then we dropped it down to 75. And it's weird because normally people come like, hey, I'm getting older, I need it bigger, wider.
Good on her.
And she's still coming down, which is pretty cool. So like, you're never too old to improving, but having fun, but doing it like gradually. And now she's got down to like mid 60s litres, which seems crazy amount to but it is coming down, but she's turning, but she's not sacrificing any of the nose riding because she's improved on that side of things.
She's
as
reading
well.
the ocean so well, and yeah.
So, but yeah, the biggest thing is just riding the right board for the right condition. And if you're only shortboard, that's unreal. Make sure you've got a fish in your, make sure you've got a bigger step up when the waves get good, and have a versatile quiver, and the waves are always pumping. But if you have one board, and you can't all afford 10 board quivers, but just have diversity in your quiver, always have great surfs.
Yeah.
And surf with like-minded people and move around at different beaches. We've got waves in the world. We live on the Sunshine Coast. All year round, it's warmish. Like, so, we're in the place to keep improving our surfing and having fun.
Yeah.
Can you touch on fins? Do you have some?
Yeah. So fins it's a funny one. It's a real personal preference. Same as surfboards is that too. We've got a good story many years ago. One of Anna's old shapers from back in the day, Bill Stewart. He's a legendary Californian longboard shaper. And a couple of guys I competed with to Josh Moore. He was the hottest thing since sliced bread, and he was winning everything in America. And he got some boards off Bill Stewart. And this one board, it was green with big red flames down it. And he grabbed it and he surfed it. And he's like, went back to Bill, hurt his feelings. It's like, this is the worst board I've ever ridden. It's like an absolute pig. Bill's like, no worries, I'll take that, grab this. And it was sitting in the factory. Colin McPhillips, another longboard world champion, walking, wow, what's that? And Bill was like, for a surf, let me know what you think. Colin rode it, won 3 world titles. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. So you might have a friend, your girlfriend's board, and you ride and go, oh, that's horrible. Or she might, so if you don't like a board, it's not a bad thing. Move it on, get something else. There's always a good board out there and someone else will enjoy it.
Well, I ride mostly 9-inch fins because I ride 9 to 9 foot are mostly like mine, but
So is that how you match?
So rule of thumb is 9 foot board, 9-inch fin. 9-6 board, maybe 9.5-inch fin. 10 foot, 10-inch fin.
But I do feel women, we are a lot smaller. Sometimes you can overfin your board and it's hard to turn.
So don't get too caught up on the 9-inch of length of the fin. It's a bit of the width and the sort of the depth of the fin. So there's so many things. So Anna's designed fins for all her boards. This is a 9-inch fin, but it is a little more narrow in the base and it's a little more narrow through the tip than what I ride.
And has a bit more flex too, so it has a little bit more width to it when you turn.
So having a bit of flex in the fin is when you push, it flexes, and when you come out of the turn, it'll snap back.
That's
Give you
it.
that zing. Word out when you think about
Yeah.
it. You probably spoke about that.
I haven't spoken about fins yet.
No.
So you could explain like what's a skinnier tip gonna do?
Yeah, so base gives you drive and hold. Hold on the nose is the length of the fin, and then as much as the more rate you have, you can kind of turn. The more upright, it's a little more pivot. That makes sense.
Do you
Way
have
too
another fin to
complicated.
compare? Do you have another fin?
Way too complicated. So that's a little bit more of an upright. That's more of a pivoty fin. This was what was in our son's one. It was a bit lighter and smaller. So that's more upright. You can see how this one rakes back this way.
And what I feel like, what I always try to fit, like women that longboard, push your fin up to the front of the box, and then you can turn better. Further back, it's more for holding in for like nose riding. But usually we need more help with turning. We're pretty light. We're going to get to the nose.
So the further forward you bring it in the fin box, obviously to turn, shortboard, longboard, anything, you need to get your feet over the tail of the board, over the fins, to make those turns. So that's why we see longboarding. We're walking up and down, we're walking forward to go fast, we're walking back to get over the fin to do that turn. So having one fin, you don't have to get back. When you've got three fins, you've really got to get back and really power and turn. So what Anna's saying is the further forward you've got in the box, easier it is to turn, and you don't have to get back as far.
Yeah.
Sometimes makes it a little bit slidey, but you have to overpower it and be a bit bigger and stronger. So then if it's a bit too slidey, you just slide it back in the box a little bit. The further back in the box, the more drive and acceleration.
Does that make sense?
So before going out and buying a new longboard fin, play with where it is in the box.
Yeah.
If it's all the way back, slide forward to get a complete different feeling before you change the fin.
Yeah, because they're like $200. Like the
Yeah.
kids are not cheap.
And you have a lot of play in the box. Like
Yeah.
you can move it forward a solid inch, and it'll make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And fins do make a big difference in boards, but at the same time, you can get super bogged down and overcomplicated.
Yeah.
You guys, there's no one trying to chase the world tour right now. Try and have fun and have a ball and just keep it simple and just get out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a lot of the things, and they are a little smaller, and then we'll pick our customer with what they do, where they surf, what sort of surfing they want to do, and that's where we'll match a fin to the board.
And shortboard fins, how do you choose them?
By colour.
So true.
Yeah, what spray on the board, tail pad, but honestly,
He worked at HP for how many years?
The main thing is,
yeah,
besides the
fins
colour.
do make a difference. There is, it can enhance or change or different conditions. But honestly, you can really complicate that stuff.
Yeah.
And it probably doesn't have to be too
It doesn't
complicated.
have to be complicated.
But different
Yeah.
materials. Obviously, there's plastic ones that are cheaper and they flex a bit and
Yeah.
they wobble. Not the
Yeah.
greatest.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of fiberglass in the fins and spend a little bit more. You'll notice the difference. It will make the board feel better. But in the way of rake or upright or pivot or drive,
I was going to say, probably the most basic things you need to know about fins is obviously your setup that you prefer. Your size. You go in there on the packet, it's going to have kilos, you just get your weight range. If you feel like that's too much fin, like especially I agree with you on the women's market kind of thing, even Coco brought out some fins, tailored for women. For a bit lighter surfers for men, a lot of the market is tailored for men. So just look at the packet, you'll have the weight range. You'll be small, medium, large typically. The more fin, harder to turn, the more surface area. And then what we're talking about with the upright fins is pretty much, if you keep it really simple, more upright fin, it's going to be easy to turn the board, and when it gets right back like that, you have more hold in the board. So it's complete opposite ends of the scale. If you want to be learning to turn, go more upright. If you want to have a bit more hold and you're pushing really hard, which we might not be there yet,
then that's.
Pretty
That's
much.
essentially
That's
the
super,
basics.
yeah, that's a really nice way to explain it.
I wouldn't worry about constructions, that's
No.
sometimes beyond me.
Yeah,
Mm.
so yeah, go with colour. That's my size, so small, medium,
Yeah,
large.
that's
Most of the time you'll all be a small.
Yeah.
I think I sold more Colohe fins than pink fins, so it's pink.
Yeah.
And all
Julie
my-
Wilson always does a great pink.
And
finish, yeah.
everyone, watch Julian tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Win. Really good. And he's a longboarder as part of the Mountain Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was exciting.
Guys got any questions for Anna?
Alright, you're shape on.
Yes.
Is there any longboarders in here? What? Yeah.
The colours fade much, like the,
Honestly,
same white fade.
Yeah, so white will kind of go yellow in time.
Yeah.
The colours do fade a little bit, but the colour is actually in the resin with a lot of the boards we do. So,
But they wouldn't fade, like, they wouldn't have a drastic difference like these.
no, not.
but I
So see,
That's pretty old, that's,
this
10
board here,
years.
this board here is sprayed. So this is the colour, this turquoisey aqua is sprayed on the foam of the surfboard, and then they glass it in clear resin.
So these ones, we actually like choose the color, but then we actually add a little bit of red, a little bit of white to make this color into the resin and mix it. And then it's actually in the resin.
So the resin, instead of clear on this board, sprayed on the foam, this is white foam, and then the colour is mixed into resin. So this will fade quicker than this. Resin can still fade a little bit.
And I feel like the these brighter colors, those are the ones that fade.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they don't fade as quick, or they don't go yellowy brown.
And that was one thing too I wanted to show with these boards. So a lot of ladies, they don't know the difference between a tint and a pigment. Do you guys know the difference between tints and pigments? A tint is like, it actually is like, you know, when you get your nails done and it's like you can still see through it like a stained glass window. And then the pigment is those solid colors like,
So this one here is a super light pigment. It's a bit milky over the stringer. See how it's like, you don't see the timber super clean, it's more of a like, so this is a pigment, but a light opaque pigment.
Yeah.
Where this one here is a tint. And you can see the timber super clean. You know, it's
Yeah.
sort of more translucent.
Yeah.
So when you go to your shaper, or they talk about, do you want pigments or tints? Tints are more translucent, normally better in like a more brighter, vibrant colour. And then the pigments are more pastel-y and washed out.
And sometimes they're so
Solid color.
strong that you can't even see the stringer. Like, yeah. So that's like the main, yeah. I was trying to find one. So, and that's important to know too, because I feel like a lot of people order a board and then they're really disappointed if they want it in an opaque or a tint or.
So tint, this one is an example, that
That's a full pigment on that.
full pigment, you can't see the stringer on this board. So that's a solid pigment.
How much is it for a custom longboard?
Yeah, so custom longboard started about 1995. So that there is 1995, including a fin. The longboard fins are around just under $200. So that's sort of what you get. Single colour. All our longboards we do come with a solid cedar stringer, which is 1/4 inch. Compared to like a ply, most shortboards just have a 6mm ply stringer.
Yeah.
Their ply is pieced together. This is one solid piece, so should be stronger.
How long does it take you to make it?
Yeah, like our turnaround time is about 4 to 5 weeks. Build time for a surfboard is pretty quick. Like it's like shaping is a couple of hours, and then glassing is an hour. But then you've got to let it dry and flip it over. So you have days where you can't work. Start to finish, if you have no dry time or waiting, you could probably build a board in about 10 hours.
Yeah.
maybe not even that long, but it takes a few weeks to go through the system. Depends how good the surf is as well. Good, it takes a little longer. Trying to get Anna to go to like it's hard. Big button.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so we can do, there's so many options with stringers. Triple stringers look amazing. The more timber you put in, it does make the boards heavier. And they don't flex as well, so they don't seem to turn and surf as well.
I usually tell like women to steer away from all the extra stringers because it makes it so it's like heavy, it lags when you're turning, you don't get that little zing that we want.
They look epic though.
Yeah.
Like double stringers or triple stringers, especially if you do double stringers like down the side of the fin box, they look really good. Oh, so stringers. We're a board snapper. We have some friends. We have friends who are board snappers. Obviously, the more timber it does make it stronger.
Yeah,
But
and
also you can layer it up.
You snapped it on the tail, didn't you? Yeah.
So with custom, that's the beautiful thing about a custom board. You work with your shape, you work with Anna, and the options are endless.
Yeah, and I do like encourage all of you when you're done with this, like come up, pick them up, and see the difference in the actual weight. It's like it's technology. Yeah.
You say you can't do
Yeah,
it with a
like
longboard,
when you think
but
about
still
arm
do it.
tests, I was saying earlier with shortboarding, you can go in the surf shop, put it under your arm, you can be blindfolded, and you'll know that's going to work right.
Yeah.
But with longboards, they get quite wide, so you can still apply it to the surf.
Yeah, I think so. You can still obviously.
You definitely feel it. You can feel the rails, and you can feel how it feels under your arm. Yeah.
And that thickness in your hands, that's going to tell you, how much float it's got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be performance rails or a cruiser rail.
Yeah.
And the nice thing with longboards, they're all oversized. Like it's huge no matter what it is. It's a lot heavy. But at the same time, the bigger it is, the better it is for paddling, better it is, more stable, better for nose riding, smaller waves, you're going to have more fun. One of the great things that Anna really takes into consideration, sometimes as the nose riders, you ride them a little bigger because most of the time it's small waves. When the waves are smaller, there's not as much energy, so the boards are actually harder to turn. Right. You probably notice on a day when it's this big, you're like, even on a shorter, you're like, man, I'm all over this. Then when it's smaller, you're like, man, I just can't get going. It's the same on a longboard. You still need it.
You need it.
So smaller waves, bigger board, but then she'll make it even lighter. So then it's easier to turn because there's not as much energy in the way. So that's something to take into consideration. So you'll feel this is more of a nose rider, and this board kind of feels lighter than this 3 all-rounder.
And it's always like people don't realize it's not like how wide and how thick, because I can put the volume in different parts of the board. So it's in longboard, it's very misconceived when someone says, I ride this many meters, because you can really play. There's a lot of board here to play.
How do you do that? How do you put?
Well, like if you do more of like an involvement log, you would have more width on the lower half of the board, and it's more pulled in on the nose. So there's actually a lot of volume back here.
So with guys, or same with short boards, same with long boards, we are bigger up here.
Yeah.
We do get ladies that are heavy chested. That when you're designing the files, is probably more where you're going with this, is we can make sure that we put more air and more thickness up in this area where we're laying. So then when you're up there and you start paddling and you get up over your foot, all that weight is forward, and you try to drive down that wave, there's a little bit more surface area. And because as longboarders, we're like pushing with our, I don't know if you guys are, but you're like anything to get into the wave, and you're inching forward and you're pushing, and that's so we can like compensate. So you don't make the rail. The rail doesn't become thicker; it just sits in here, and you see this kind of board as well. like, it's thick here, because this is made for paddling small waves as well. So the thickness is here, and then it's a little finer through this bit. You can see it in the rails, but there's thickness here for paddling, and that's probably one of your best paddlers.
I have a perfect example of that. I was researching a new board from Channel Islands, and I was looking at 3 models, and I did my little quiver chart, and the 3 different models had the exact same dimensions, but they all were for different purposes and different outlines for different tails. But they had the exact dimensions, same volume. 3 different boards. How crazy is that? That's how quiver charts help. Blew my mind. So the shaper's job is to hide that foam where you need it for the job of the
You
waves.
had it well, because I was like, how
So that's moving it forward. We do find that you don't want to fan up on the rail up here, because then all of a sudden it's catching and it's bogging, but it's all hidden here. And then sometimes we get a lot of people that are really heading back foot surfers, which is not great, especially longboarding. Doing a wheelie. So we will like drop a little bit more area back there, a little bit more thick, but we want to get them on the front foot.
Yeah. And it's the best, because I love being able to surf with someone and see how they surf and what they're struggling with, and also cater to their good points, so that their good points are still their good points, and then make them a board. Like it should, like I keep saying it should be fun. We should all be out there catching waves, having fun, and
if turning is your strong point,
don't
stick
get
to
a
your
board.
strength.
Yeah.
Make sure the board turns
Right.
still well, but try and then get the board to help you up the front, so you get all those benefits, but you still stick to your strength. If you're a turner, man, there's no better feeling than carving a big wave or a wave,
Yeah.
but then making it help you go forward. And that's what Anna's good at. Something that I do, someone will send us a message on Instagram, I'll get a custom order, we'll stalk them, we'll see where they surf, because they might be from Victoria or Sydney. We're never going to surf with them, we'll get to see them, but we'll stalk their Instagram. Hey, they surf good, looks like they surf beach breaks a lot, this will be good, and then we'll try and make tweaks to our model to suit that.
Yeah, I actually had like this really cool thing happen at the last Musa Festival. All the girls, we get all excited, all the top girls from all over the world come to compete. And there was one girl that I always stalk on Instagram. And we were out there doing a free surf. And I noticed in the car, she had boards from Takayama, from Ian Chisholm, like a whole bunch. Everyone's throwing their boards. And I'm like, oh God, I'm kind of like just a startup. Like I don't have all these boards together. We're out free surfing the day before a heat, and I said, hey, can you just give me some feedback on my board? And she jumped on it, and it was like magic watching, because like to see someone surf so good on your board, it's just like, it's like a gift that they're giving you, because you know that it's in there. And like, it's the board that I ride, I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that. And then she gave it back to me, and I'm like, hey, I'm on a good thing. I know what I'm doing, it's not all in my head. And then,
And it's like, I think it needs to nose right there. I'm like,
I'm like so hard on myself.
but you get a good nose rides on it. It looks like it's good anyway. This young girl, Cash, jumped on it, and the first wave I was on the beach watching. I'm like, wow, that was pretty sick. Like that was her best wave of the afternoon. It was on this board.
Yeah.
awesome.
So
And then I'm at the grocery store the next day, and I'm getting all the food, and then the phone rings, and it's Cash. She's like, Anna, my heat's in an hour. I've been like riding my other boards. I'm really stressed out. Can I ride your board?
No.
And now I'm making two
so
more
Anna leaves
boards.
a grocery.
I did. I was like, oh my God.
Throws it to the side, runs it.
And she just called me. We're going to Oceanside. My son's in his first pro international contest. Really big moment for our family. And he was invited. Josh is in it also, which is really exciting. And she asked me to bring 2 boards for her. She's willing to buy my boards.
It's amazing.
It just like gives me the feeling like, hey, I can make these boards work. So like you can, whatever level you're at, I'll make you a board, and I know you can push it to the next level. It's not just, yeah.
So the cool thing is, Anna's on this nose ride journey. We live at Noosa and we surf the points kind of every day. Every day break, we're out there. So Anna's on this journey on her boards of like, how can I make a nose ride better? How can I nose ride better at 52 years old and still trying to progress her surfing and do cool things? Yet this young girl who's on the early journey of her pro career jumps on the same board that Anna's trying to improve, and this girl jumps on and then wins probably arguably one of the biggest longboard events in the world.
So cool.
The festival is huge. So where Anna's probably going is it's where we're at now, but I can jump on this and feel super comfortable. If it was this big and the waves were for a contest, I could jump on that at my level of what I've done in my surfing. But you guys as total beginners, this is the most versatile longboard in the range. Paddles, trims, turns easy, and encouraging to nose ride. So that's what's cool about the boards is any level you'll get it. You won't be able to outgrow it or outsurf it. The more you improve, this is any board. The more you improve, you're like, oh my gosh.
I didn't know I could get to this part of the wave. I didn't it's pretty fun.
Whether it's just trimming or like my first proper carve or roundhouse, or so you can always grow the board. With a shortboard, you can definitely go too small and too performance and out of your comfort zone too early, and your surfing will just get stagnant. You won't improve. But on a longboard, they're oversized, so you can grow with the board.
So love it.
Did I see someone else put their hand up before I asked a question?
I was just going to ask you, the students, are they always teach you that your personal preference is it?
Yeah, we like to see that, but we can totally, when you order your board, you can get whatever you want. So the boards are built start to finish, so we can apply. We can get glue lines. So you see some boards that have a timber stringer down the middle, and then they have these glue lines down the sides.
And that's the thing that we have fun with as shapers is like I was saying, we're trying to do carbon boards. It's like using all the technology to see how we can benefit in our equipment. So, because actually I'm not name dropping anything, but Papa Bizdak is a really good friend. He owns Firewire, and he's Kelly Slater's financial backer. And
So the main owner of Firewire.
So we're always getting to sample little technologies and
See what's
stuff.
cool. But what these guys do, it's
I love this.
because it's super light, super buoyant, so it's a floating more. So early in that journey, it's really good. But then as you get better, sometimes these become a bit too buoyant, too corky, and too bouncy. But early on, these are great options.
And all that technology is just amazing.
And technology is not overly accepted in the longboard world because it's more traditional and roots, but you've got to ride everything and try everything, and it's always horses. People don't like computer shapes, but everything's computer shaped boards now, and then hand finished at the end, and that's the most important part, and that's something that.
And that's one thing that Billy they go, oh, I ride a DHD, or I got this from DHD. I'm like, DHD never touched that board. I will work with you to make sure that this board, it might work great, for Stephanie Gilmore, but I think I can make you a better board. Yeah.
What do you guys think about mushroom board?
Yeah, pretty cool. It's endless. There's so much cool technology and new things. What's that?
Do you reckon you could make it on board?
Yeah, I saw it. I haven't seen any of those ones, people riding in longboards. But you totally could. It's just a different feeling and a different vibe, and there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But they are expensive, those ones. I did see the other day, there's a guy on the Gold Coast that's doing epoxy outside rails and then PU centres. And you blast the outside in epoxy, centres in PU. So PU is meant to give, what is it? I can't remember. When I was, and they want you to get the spring of turning on the rail of the epoxy, and then Yeah, it's crazy. So it's a new blank and people are coming up with cool ideas all the time. But the longboards are, keep it simple. Fiberglass works really well. Get a great colour, find the board and the shaper, or work with someone like it. There's no women shapers in the world. She's one of 5.
5.
One of 4. 1 of 3. There's no one in Oz that's got a brand that's surfing every day, twice a day, 3 times a day.
That's why I made boards. I need a lot of boards.
Testing, aren't they?
Yeah, but there's no one. There's no one in Australia shaping boards.
It was really bad. When I first started shaping, I literally would go out and like Jordan that was here. She's like, "Is that enough of your board?" I'm like, "Yeah." I had an idea. I wanted to see if it works. If it works, it was worth it. Yeah,
But
and
that's
it's
the
addictive. It's so
Your shaper,
addictive.
this is your shaper, she surfs.
Yeah.
So the feelings that you're feeling, she's feeling,
And I
or
wanted
she's
to
been
give it
through
because-
that,
yeah.
or she's been through that journey in her surfing or now in her shaping. So what Anna's doing, not because I'm her husband, I'm proud, but man, there's no one.
No, it was
there's
funny.
no
I
female
shaped,
shaper.
and the first time I brought my logos into our glass shop, I had them pinned to the blanks which you do, and it has like all the like how you want it glass. And the guy goes, "Oh, Josh has a new logo."
No.
All right, it has a different name on it. And I'm like, and I'm like, I was so nervous because it is a male-dominated like world to go in there. And like I've done glassing apprenticeship, I've done knee repairs, I've made hand wooden surf planes. I've done a lot, but I've never had like the opportunity to do what I'm doing right now. And I just feel like it's such a privilege, and I really want to do like all you girls. I want to do and I want to show like So thanks.
Any questions?
And you make all size boards.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
time.
Have you seen these? Have you seen these? I'll bring them over quickly.
Like, it's
So-
just really funny. Everyone pins me as a longboard because I do these boards, but I live at Castaway, so I probably ride my 5'3" mini Sez more than any board right now. But mid-length, short boards, longboards, I feel like you have to be able to do it all and feel everything.
So we've travelled the world, and obviously it was my job in my career. So it was on the longboard tour, but everywhere we went, we would always have a shortboard or a midi in the.
And we have literally boards stored all over the world because we own
So this is probably the hottest mid-length. It's probably the hottest board on the market right now. Whether you're a shortboarder wanting a board for when it's small or cruisy or fat burgery waves, or if you're a longboarder and you want something for when the waves are a little better, or you want to surf the open beaches. So this is the KK. So all the boards, and I might have said, but all the boards are named after the powerful women in her life. So Sarah is her younger sister, Sarah, and her family call her Sarah. Sarah. The Isla is Anna's older sister, and this is a super special board. Unfortunately, Isla passed away last year from cancer. So it was a pretty rough time for us, but this board means so much to our family.
And I love it because so many people now know the name Isla, and it's like I get to hear her name all the time. It's really good.
And that was what was so cool. This
Yeah.
year, with the young girl winning on it, and it was just a nice thing. So, and then KK's our niece, our eldest niece, and then this is the Hanja, our youngest niece. So it's pretty cool. It's about family, and that's what our brand is and what we're about. It's family. The Ahana, it's Hawaiian, and that's what we're all about. But the mid-length, this is Anna's version of the mid-length. So talk us through it.
It's obviously a pulled-in nose. It has a really nice flat section, a lot of V, so it's easy to turn, and an edge on the tail, which you guys all know about now, and a nice rounded tail to make it easy to turn.
So for a mid-length, you'd probably sit the big Baron is probably a little fuller in the nose. So something that Anna's thought about is just tapering the nose. When we're turning, if the noses are wider, it can get a little catchy.
Yeah.
So by having a little narrower nose and a little bit more rocket than what's out there on most mediums, it's a little bit more performance midway.
Yeah.
Or you guys are small, so you don't need so much surface area and you don't need a board that's big. A little bit more pulled in tail just makes the board a little bit more maneuverable. And again,
Honestly, so
they
much
look
fun.
cool, don't need
Yeah.
to push as hard, they've got edge in the tail, so there's enough drive and acceleration and hold. And I've been on this board too, and it's got a 7.6 at home, and I ride that, and for me as a single thing, I haven't slid out, surfed it from 2 foot, and I've got 6 foot tubes at D-bar a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, so it works in everything, but this is a super cool board.
Yeah. And you can duck dive it.
Yes.
Because it does. I remember someone saying, how do you know you can duck that one?
So, and these boards, we've been doing them in all different sizes, and
Yeah.
the smallest is a 6'4" that she's done. Got the 7.6, you've
But I
done an
can
8 foot
always
up.
do it in
Yeah.
Super fun. I was stoked. I had brought it down to the Goldie, had a couple girls ride it that are like crazy good. It's a fun, fast board that is responsive and easy to paddle into waves. My whole thing is it has to be easy for us. We don't have as much strength. I feel like guys have the upper hand always in the lineup. We can read the ocean and stuff, but just with their strength, we just cannot so we need a little extra, I always feel like a little extra length or volume.
So
So
a
we can
little more area.
Unless you have a husband, you just go, I'm dropping it.
A little bit more width again,
Yeah,
a little bit more pulled in tail.
Yeah.
Just another variation
Yeah.
of the 20 fish.
Yeah.
And a super fun board. So
yeah,
we ride everything, both of us. We've got quivers that start at 4'10" is your smallest board, mine's 5'5", 12 footers in there, gliders in there. So we ride everything, and yes, we live at Noosa and my job is longboarding, but we ride everything, and the quiver is diverse, and
yeah,
we're always having good fun because we've got lots of boards.
yeah.
So good.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Any other questions? Yes, we do grom logs. Yeah. So from 7 foot to 8'6",
Yeah.
super fun.
And I honestly have to say, I feel so sorry for so many of my girlfriends that have sons, because all of a sudden they turn into teenagers and they're doing their own thing. And they're like, they don't do much with their kids. And they're like, oh, do you spend much time with your kids? I'm like, every day. We surf every day. And we send each other clips every day. We have that connection. So when you're a surfing family, I think there's nothing better than a family that surfs together. Yeah.
Especially when I'm on the beach.
Oh, 100%. I want to borrow your boards. Yeah. But we surf with them every day. Our kids prefer to hang out with us and go surfing. So, yeah. And I think that's delightful.
Is friend dress expensive? Not Francis.
Spin again.
I'm spinning it. This is the jacket. So.
There
We went to Bell's.
Spin, spin, spin. Someone call her.
I just didn't want to think it was a postage issue. So I think it's still fair. Yeah.
Hello. Where are you? Yeah, you got your jacket. Yeah. still get to have it. Kate's gonna give it to you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
He's very happy. Yeah, well done. Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
That's hilarious.
I was like, she
And then this one is you card
Salt Gypsy $100 voucher.
Is everyone Salt Gypsy?
Yes.
Yes, no.
Yes.
They have boards and swimwear, I believe.
Yes. Yes. Swimwear. Made.
Computer made boards. Computer made. But they do focus.
Made on, they're made sure. Great boards, great brand. Their swimsuits are mental. Their swim stuff's really good.
This is the one.
Yes.
They've been around. They started in clown, but they've kind of now spread their wings. But Abby, who owns it, is a legend. They're all super lovely.
10 classes, 10 classes, 3 months to do all 10.
So here we go. Rumble and skip. All right. Facial.
You get a 45-minute workshop and facial.
Yes. Baby glow. But if you check her out,
You're gonna glow like a baby. All us surfers are doing this. Yes.
she surfs his own skin.
Ooh, something else.
Oh, wow.
Should I rock up like this? Sorry, a bit of a joke. I went and printed them off and I didn't realise what A3 was. I was like, holy shit! These are huge! They're not the A3 smile. I'm not like, oh my god. This is extra. This is Orenda Cafe in Clown. Awesome. $50. Really for coffee. Yeah.
They have a name.
Locally owned. They're legends. So these are all donated, by the way. Oh, she's not. Should we do it again?
Yes. Did they change?
Actually, because I can't give that to her.
Yeah.
She's not here. She's in Bali surfing, so she doesn't need it.
Doesn't need it.
Tammy Grant.
And while everyone's here, everyone following She Creative Army,
Yes.
Creative Army, Surf Crowd, and stuff like that.
Give us a follow.
And if you've got any photos, share, tag,
Alright, so Elation the label, that was originally started in Newcastle by Kelly Legend. She just had a revamp, but now it's made in Bali but ethically made. New owner, but yeah, they do really, really cool stuff. This is their new stuff actually. They're just released. I have their surf leggings, so you don't have them off. So I love them when I'm coaching, or especially if you surf, if you have to go on a surf trip overseas and you don't burn your ass, so you can surf for ages. Surf leggings is the best. Anyway, they are going to make more. So yeah, I'm sold on that. Alright, here we go. Susan Rockstraw.
30-minute private session with Sez to learn how to shred or no right.
Believe that. We'll just chat all the time. Michelle Sidden. Okay, and then that's it. Thank you. Yeah, guys, this is free. Take on your surfboard or your car. What else? I think that's it. Oh, Joe. Joe. Joe's going to give us a quick little talk about this creation over here. It looks super fun. Here we go, Joe. Everyone,
Hey guys. Hey. So it's pretty fun to follow because I'm following these guys. But, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about Surfboard Workshop I, and I would love to take credit for making these boards myself, but actually Leah makes the commitment together. So it's boards by Joe and Leah, which is boards by Joa. But basically you just take them out when the waves are really small. I'm from England, so we get a lot of really small waves, or we get quite a lot of shore breaks and things like that. So they kind of originated in the 1920s over in Newquay, where I'm from. And then they kind of went out of fashion years, and you see the old ladies riding them in the whiteboard and things. But they have made a bit of a comeback just because they're much more eco-friendly than your polystyrene bodyboards, and they kind of work a bit like a bodyboard and a bit like handplane. And we sort of brought out boards over here, and people were asking us about them when we were going out surfing our own boards. So we just thought we'd start making them and distributing them here if people are interested. So we are Boards by Joa on Instagram. You know, give us a little like or follow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. I think all of us are blown away by how many people came, but it just goes to show us, especially women, how much help we need to understand our gear better. And to be honest, I thought when I first walked into the surf shop that I wouldn't know enough, but I now know that grown men come in and I know way more than they do. So it's not just a women thing. A lot of guys don't really need to. You know, so if you can understand, put all those basics together, don't have to get too technical. Like we were saying, keep it simple. Understand what you need, what you like to ride, conditions, have a lot to do with it. And the most important thing is have fun.
Thank you. So that's it. So thanks so much. All the prizes again were donated, and it is going to remove the boards to help with teen suicide prevention. They've got -18 youth. Really good cause, especially right now with everything going on.
How much did you raise?
I don't even know, but I think it's close to 1,000. And thank you to coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure we all want to one now.
Yes.
And feel free to hold the boards.
You guys did it.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.